I don't know. What are we doing? What's happening today? Back in August of 2018, I have no idea when you're watching this, but it's not 2018 anymore, I can tell you that. We did our first viewer submitted stories. And it was so awesome, we did a round 2 of stories that came in following the video of viewer submitted stories round 1. People responded to that video with even more stories. So this is round 3. It's actually also in celebration of the 10K subs for Hunt for Games, which we have long since passed, but you guys submitted your stories for that. But I do want to go back all the way to August of 2018 to the second viewer submitted stories video where more comments with stories came in to read those as well. Because all these stories are amazing. I love reading this stuff. We're going to make this a thing. We're going to make this a common thing. We're doing these more often. All right, so let's kick this off with Deku Man 1 year ago. Another great video, and I'm very glad this is going to be a new series. Remember I said I was gonna do these more often, and apparently I don't do these often enough, but we're doing them more often. I guess I'll share an anecdote. I played on Seraph prior to the server merges. This was in my early days in 2004, and I had met a male Taru bard named Song in a leveling party. Back then, bards were kind of rare, and you remember the ones you met. In any case, he leveled much quicker than me, and I don't think we leveled together all that often, but he became one of those players you see in Jeuno and say hi to. Part of the reason he leveled faster than me is because I stopped around level 50 to full-time run on my teleport business, shouting for Teledem, Telemea, Telehala for 500 gil. 500, dude. Come on, you gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. In the outer zones for 1,000 gil to afford my light and Zark staff. Dude, huge blocking level range. Everyone's getting their scorpion harness, their Habergen, all the elemental staves. I remember on my black mage, I was like, I think I'm gonna forego a few of these. Anyways, one afternoon, I got a request for a teleport from Song. I remember he was decked out in the bright red Tartar JSE Wonder Armor set. I believe it was Dem or Hala, definitely not Maya. And we chatted a bit. What about? I do not remember. And he went on his merry way. Then I didn't see him again for a few days. And then the days turned into weeks. And I must have sent him a POL message asking him how he was doing. Eventually, I got a reply back saying Song had died suddenly of an aneurysm. I was shocked and saddened. I mean, there's not much to this story, but it's connections we make and in many cases lost that always stay with me. There are real people behind the screen, and I think of what could have been had he lived to see Endgame. Would we have stayed acquaintances? Damn it. Would we have stayed acquaintances? Would he have joined an elitist endgame link shell? Or would he have faded away like so many other players back then who played for a while and then left? My last memory of Song is seeing him choco away while I stood at the telepoint. I'd like to think we would have stayed friends. That's really sad. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I hope he would have enjoyed endgame as well. Next we have Foxitato. Foxitato? Oh, I do have a story of my days back in Vanadil. Maybe I'll share some here in this oasis of nostalgia. To start off with remember my first run from the dunes all the way to Jeuno. I had hit level 20 with a friend. We had heard that this time we could get our chocobo license up in Jeuno. Neither of us had ever been beyond the starting zones and the dunes and that kind of stuff, but we figured we would be safe. I did not know the danger I had set myself upon and started to head to the highlands. Easy enough. And then I went to the next zone. I'd never been to Pashow marshlands, but it will forever be burned into my mind. The dark, misty wetlands with tall walls, Quadov stalking around each area, trying to stay out in the open to not get cornered in one of the narrow passageways that would lead to a Quadov or goblin catching me. And the rain simply added the atmosphere of dread and confusion to the situation. In the panic of a Marlboro nearly catching us, my friend and I split off to see if one of us could find our way through. We had no idea where to find the exit, as neither of us had the map of the region. My tiny Tartar black mage somehow, through all the odds, managed to sneak past the mobs and get through what I figured was the path through the zone, and managed to find myself in Rolandberry Fields, waiting around 10 minutes for my friend to get through the region. The contrast between the two zones is something I'll always hold, as I got out of what could be a horror movie and into what seemed an idyllic stroll through a pleasant valley with the soothing rolling music, the barrels and orchards of Roland berries, and even the gobos, which we had never seen before. It was beautiful, amazing, and dangerous, as we had no idea what mobs would attack us and went with the safe bet of 30 feet away from anything that moves. A few daring close calls with goblins and quadovs as we made our way through blindly. Again, no map of the region. We had no idea where we were going, getting lost in the small inclines that led into the orchards of Roland berries, which, while pretty, began to become hair-pulling as we had to dodge death around every corner. I was simply using the spot of the Pashow marshlands on the region map and Jeuno to try and figure the direction we needed to go. Finally, after about what felt like 30 minutes of walking through blindly, we made it. We both near exploded with joy as we rounded one last mountain and saw the city off in the distance and raced to the gates. I'll likely share a couple more stories I remember. Final Fantasy XI was my first and is still my favorite MMORPG. And I remember the time on the Quetzalcoatl server with my link shell fondly. Yeah, dude. Everybody's favorite first story to Jeuno is always amazing. Always fun. From Nightweaver20XX, one of my most memorable stories from my early days in Final Fantasy XI was one day, while wandering through Yoder Jungle, I clicked on a Marlboro that had a different name than all the rest. It was called Rose Garden. I know Rose Garden. It was a 24-hour pop from the normal Marlboros that spawned there. I killed it, and lo and behold, I got Vilma's ring. I didn't know what it was, so I popped open my inventory, and it was this amazing level 40 ring for mages that gave +1 to a few stats and some MP. For the time, it was the most amazing thing I'd ever gotten. I felt like I'd won the lottery. I guess even to this day, it's still a very rare drop off that mob. It is. I've never gotten it. Oh yeah, and the spell lock lag is the only thing holding me back from training an entire zone and AoEing it to death. My level 119 paladin can, for example, easily survive 50 plus Anakins beating on her at once, but unfortunately the spell lock is so persistent that I would not even be able to engage and kill anything in it. I know, it's maddening. It is maddening. So from Logan G, this game always takes me back to my childhood. The world of Vana'diel holds a special place in my heart. I began playing when I was almost 13. My father was pretty well known on our server, and he helped me learn to play and taught me the ropes. Sadly, he passed away when I was 16 from a heart attack. One of the hardest things I had to do that day before I went to my mother's was log him out of Final Fantasy XI. Seeing his tar sitting swaying back and forth, smiling, destroyed me. I took over his character for him to continue it after he passed, and I had some amazing times. I'll never forget the world and the people I met in it. The majority of my tattoos are Final Fantasy XI, so I always keep the memories of it with me. Almost every night I've gone to sleep listening to the music of Vana'diel, which it makes me feel like a kid again, roaming around the world with my father. This game is still more than just a game to me, and I'll always be thankful of it. Galloway from Bismarck. Dude, this game it brings back memories like no other, and most of mine are all pleasant. That's tough. I'm glad you had those amazing memories with your father, though. So from Babbitt Toast, my favorite story is farming NMs in Corloco Tunnel, Cargo, Crab, Colin, and the Spider. It took me a good month to get niters to drop. I had it for my blue. I loved it due to how unique it was, and no one ever really had it because it really wasn't that great. And the web cutter scythe from the Spider NM. Never did get a full stack of Morian Tathlums, though. So from Bruce McKinley, I guess I can mention the absolute beginning, before even playing the game. I remember browsing the PC games in Best Buy around November 2003 and seeing Final Fantasy XI. I didn't even know it was coming out on PC. Regardless, I happily grabbed it and I was walking to the cashier ready to purchase it when I noticed it was an MMORPG. I'd never played an MMO before, but I knew I would get hooked on that kind of game, so I put it back. A couple of months went by and I suddenly said, screw it, I'm buying Final Fantasy XI. I played it hardcore from early 2004 until recently. I miss those days. I love how you were like, I can't. I'll become addicted. This is dangerous. I'm doing it. And then everything followed. So from Survivor. So that week they ended Treasures of Ottergon and also unveiled the direly needed two-handed update. I went with a few Link Shell mates and just from random people collected from Shouts to do the final missions of Treasures of Ottergon. At the time, it was strongly believed that you needed to take a few monks with you to kill Raubon, because not a lot of people understood the way he gained damage mitigation, depending on what type of damage you'd killed him with, for each of his lives. My party didn't understand it either, but a week prior to this, I had helped a friend with his Puppet Master artifact quest, where you must fight a super puppet that gains damage mitigation in the same way Robin does, albeit a little actively instead of after death. My group was a Paladin, Dark War, Red Mage, White Mage, and a Ranger. Actually, the last member's job I'm a little fuzzy on. After wiping a Robin a time or two, once he became invulnerable to physical damage, they were ready to believe the hype about needing monks and formless strikes. I told them to hold on, that we just had to kill him in his second life with the majority of magic damage, meaning we only had to deal 51% of his HP with magic. So the next attempt, the Paladin, Dark, Red Mage, and White Mage are all nuking as hard as they can, and it's just pathetic because the Paladin and Dark don't have setups or skills to do that. They managed to do it though, getting him more than halfway down with just magic. After that, we beat him to a pulp with physical damage, and in his third and final life, he was still killable with either types of damage. That's awesome. After that, we got to the true fight against Alexander. It went well for us, but we were becoming strained on resources, and time in the BCNM was getting low. Alexander was at 18%. My party members started to express their doubts and concerns. Meanwhile, I decided to just start saving up TP. When I got to 300%, Alexander was still at 13%. They asked me if I was still there, why I was not weapon skilling, what was I doing? I responded by using Mighty Strikes and the Warrior's Charge with a 300% Steel Cyclone. It took Alexander to 2%, and we killed it just before timing out. They were very shocked and awed, and since I had all of my two-handed weapon skills up, I kept awing people that whole week before Square Enix scaled back to two-handed power. I remember when they like kind of broke it for a little bit. The only story I love more than that, in the same week, my HNMLS was doing C, and we had several Jailer of Love pops. I did a similar setup Steel Cyclone to Jailer of Love with some Red Curie that a Link Shell Make had provided for me. The Steel Cyclone hit for 2,284 damage. Jailer of Love had just used the Yover boost, turned to me, and one-shot me with a boosted tentacle to the chest. Done. Done. That's awesome. This isn't really a story, but I love it. Bob McAdoo said, nice video. You should make your next video wearing a shirt that says R0. Oh my god. We should totally make an R0 shirt. Gotta write that down somewhere. KJ Noodles. Here's my other great moment that led to other great memories of the game. Getting my dad hooked on the game. I take long breaks from the game, but he's still going steady. But my best game memory with him has got to be farming Dynamics relentlessly for a few months to finally get my Apocalypse Life. Dude, that's crazy. That's awesome. From Sly DZ 420. Working on my Chains of Promethea missions was challenging but doable up until the dreaded 3.1 fight. I remember waiting for hours just to get a party, then finally trying to do it, not even being able to make it to the BCNM. People were dying left and right and then just rage quitting. So 5 times later, 2 failures in getting there, 3 times trying to get there, making it, and getting whooped at that 30 to 40% health thing where they go crazy. And it's just not looking like it's going to happen. But then as luck would have it, I log in randomly one night, and lo and behold, some Japanese parties looking for a healer on their 5 out of 6 on the COP 3.1 mission. I only had Red Mage, so it must have been fate, giving me some Echo Drops, Ethers, and even some Yag drinks. And they're like, I was just some dumb noob at the time. And they ran through it with such proficiency, getting to the fight and the fight itself. And it was night and day, and that's where my Jap Party hype began. Jap Party impossible to gauge. Red Mage War, Paladin 75, do you need it? You can have this. Sly D's, Bismarck. Dude, amazing. Those fights were so intense. Very difficult. From Alan Batsford. My Link Shell was lucky enough to get claim on King Behemoth, and we started chipping away at it. Myself and a few others were melee, so we had the idea to build TP on nearby mobs so we could weapon skill King Behemoth when he stopped to cast Meteor on the kiters. I was with the Galka, and we were TPing on a lightning elemental when an LS mate outside the Alliance rolled up. The Galka got the idea to call for help on the elemental so friends outside of the Allowance could help those with TP mobs. Well, his call for help applied to old King Behemoth. Everyone lost their minds, and then word got around to all the other endgame Link Shells. The zone became packed with everyone who wanted to see the spectacle. For a while, everyone was willing to keep their hands off King Behemoth while we petitioned a GM to reset it. We even tried to reset it ourselves, but it was taking too long as we were also afraid to lose claim to a competing Link Shell. Eventually, a rival Link Shell took matters into their own hands and started the kill. At this point, the GM who was petitioned made an appearance and gave his condolences. He could not reset it. It was the only time I'd ever seen a GM, and all during the craziest day in Behemoth's Dominion. I always felt bad for the Gulka. He really was just trying his best. Man, that sucks. From RL, my first experience party, of course, happened in Valkyrie Dunes. I was a Tartar Red Mage equipped with a sword and shield, until I was asked to stand aside and heal. Boring, but okay. After a while, I was asked to pull, having a bow and some arrows. I said, okay, what should I get? And the leader replied, anything. So I said, anything? The leader replied, anything. So, still being new to the game of pulling, I made my first pull macro with the annoying Alert 1 sound and pulled incoming bogey, Alert 1. Immediately everyone said, no, not that. So I replied, but you said anything. So after my tank provoked, he went down with 2 hits, as did the DD. I ran out of MP, ran away to rest up, to only get blood aggroed by a skeleton and die. Entire party wipe, and I learned to not pull a bogey. Good times. Why are they making a red mage pull a bogey anyway? Jeez, that is just ridiculous. I mean, I feel like there had to be somebody else. So from Nellicats, my story for the part 3. So I had been playing the game for about 6 months or so back in the mid-2000s, and I was running into the notorious Final Fantasy XI inventory space problems. My best friend in the game at the time decided to make mules together for the first time. I've been playing a Hume, and he'd been playing a Tartar, so we both decided to make Elvon mules. For some reason, after creating them, we both met in the game in Sandoria, and we were both in full Elvon roleplay mode. We were both trying to act stuck up and like we were better than each other. At some point, I typed in all caps, "Glory to Sandoria," and this immediately caught on all with both of us. We decided to fool around with the characters a little longer. We were running around shouting "Glory to Sandoria" at everything we could see. NPCs, mobs we were fighting, other players, didn't matter. Needless to say, we were laughing pretty hard for the couple of hours we were doing this. Well, we had so much fun that I decided to main that character. I haven't played my original Hume assumed character since. It just didn't seem right after the glorious Elvon being nothing but a mule. So my Hume and Elvon reversed their role of mule and main character. It is a strange feeling logging in and not seeing your first character, but Elvon for the win. That is actually kind of funny to think that you have to, every time you log in, you go down one. That's bizarre. That's awesome though. We continue. Final to Fish. I started playing Final Fantasy XI a few months before Wings of the Goddess came out, and I started as a Red Mage because I've always been a fan of the job in Final Fantasy. I quit Red Mage after a terrible Mandragora party in Young Jungle. He had 75 Red Mage healing us and a White Mage in the party. Being a noob and not knowing Red Mage was heal, haste, refresh only in a lot of parties at the time, I got threatened to be kicked and shamed because I was only attacking and trying for magic bursts. Left the party and went out to unlock Dancer. Never looked back after getting Dancer to 75. Solo Dancer most of the way because I didn't like pugs after that experience. Fields of Valor tomes and adventuring fellow NPCs kind of made it bearable. Only partied with Link Shell mates when I could. When any of them were on, at least the hours we could put together didn't really always line up most of the time. I play Final Fantasy 14 now, have been playing since the A Realm Reborn launch. Had 1.0 but couldn't play with my potato of a PC overheating. My original guy is still level 6 on Balmung server. I made him on Wutai way back. That's awesome. From Buko33, I'd hit cap on Scholar and I was playing with merits. After an extensive solo testing, roughly 4 months worth, I was convinced Modus Veritas Duration, merit 5 out of 5, removed the halftime reduction cost completely, despite the wiki page saying it only raised it up to roughly 75% from 50%. No scholar I talked to believed me, but I even tried to create an all-scholar Link Shell LS. I just said Link Shell LS. After about another 4 months of my C group listening to me talk about it and begging them to listen to me, they finally allowed me to test my theory on Jailers of Love. We had 5 scholars and sub Black Mage for Elemental Seal, ready to use a Helix on Jailer of Love, and then all cast our Modus Veritas. Jailer of Love died in 2 ticks. So the Link Shell Paladin and a few White Mage held AV while a bunch of other people ran to go switch their merits and rejoin us in C. This time with 15-ish scholars for AV. AV died in 3 ticks. It never 2-hour'd. They patched Scholar's Modus Veritas to make it miss on consecutive group use a week later. Sorry, everybody. Dude, it was you. You broke it. From Arsenet, I can talk for hours about stories from Final Fantasy XI. One story is from way early on. A friend of ours who worked at GameStop had beta keys for the Windows release of Rise of Zilart, the new Final Fantasy game. I refused to even want a key since I only wanted the normal offline series. My husband took it and installed it on our PC. It only took a few minutes for me to want to play, but we only had one computer and one Play Online account. So while he slept, I'd play as an alt from his account. We did that for 4 years since Square Enix would split the account even when the PS2 version came out in the West the following year. Obviously, since it was a beta test, we couldn't port our characters into the main game, but I had a good idea of the Sandy to Valkyrie trip since that was something I did during beta. So a friend that I made in beta told me when we would go to Windy for a change of scenery. I never made it that far so I wanted to see the other side of the world. I was Mithra and he was Taru, so he insisted we needed to visit the motherland. After hitting level 10 in Sandy, we grit our teeth and did the trip. Luckily, when retail came out in the USA, the zones were crazy packed. Half of Fenrir's server was Japanese, all doing their artifact quests. Level cap went up from 50 to 60, and we were level stupid speaking English. Not knowing how to use the translation function. So my friend figured out we needed to get the boat in Selbina. Dunes were packed with leveling parties, so we threaded our level 10 characters all the way to Selbina, paid our ticket, got in the boat, survived both pirates and sea horror, and ended up in Mauer with no map and no idea where to go. Out of nowhere, watching us the whole time, same one that raised half the passengers from the boat ride when the Sea Horror was tracked into the cargo hold, was a full artifact Japanese White Mage Mithra. She used the translation to ask, "Winders, do you need it?" We both said yes. Emoted yes. She was very happy to be helpful, and we saw we weren't begging for help like most people were doing at the time. Told to follow the whole way, she walked our new butts all the way to Windy. We'd bind at every outpost, and she'd act like a tour guide telling us where we were going, points of interest, and even get the Mega Gate Crag Crystal. Of course, we had to stay there in Windy for several levels, since all my friends said, not that I'm complaining, but I'm so short, all I saw was tall grass and cat butt for half an hour. I can talk forever about my positive stories of us trying to communicate in broken English with a lot of Japanese players, with a lot of eager Japanese who were fascinated with the crazy foreigners. That is amazing. I love the auto-translate and bad communication story. It's always fun. Rob L. When the game first came out, myself and 3 of my friends got it together. I got sucked into the fishing aspect and spent all of my game time working towards getting my Lu Shang rod. My friends continued leveling but would help me out by fishing with me some days and giving me their moat carps. When I finally turned in the 10,000th moat carp, it was a big celebration with all my friends. I can't believe you did it, dude. So much. Frank McManus, I got a story. I ran into a neighbor down the street from where I lived in real life and game. In Crawler's Nest XP party, no plan to meet up. Didn't even know they played. I wonder what the odds of that during the Treasures of Ottergon are there. That is crazy, dude. Did you guys know your, how did you realize it when you were playing? Did you just like start talking about like, this street's amazing that I live on? And someone's like, that's my street. Entrepreneur, Leaping Lizzie, my level 15-ish warrior at the time, passing through the area, stop and check the map where to go, exit map, and bam, Leaping Lizzie spawns directly on top of me. After nearly dying, with the help of a giant TP weapon skill, I killed this weird named creature, and oh my god, it drops the most amazing boots any new warrior player would like. I wore those boots through 6 characters, even White Mage. What a drop. And everyone around me clapped, cheered, and cussed because of how lucky I was. Great moment, same kind of story. That's amazing. I hate you for getting those the first try, but that is awesome. Chris Fragger 1, I was fighting Kieran as a Tara Black Mage, and I accidentally Ancient Magic Burst him with Aeroga 3. Or just Magic Burst him with Aeroga 3, I think it was. Kieran instantly said, screw these tanks, and 1 hit. Dead. That's awesome. So from Carl Fogelin. Fogelin? I have so many stories, but this one still makes me laugh. Back during the COP expansion, I was leveling Beast and Quiffim over by the pond. There was one group there leveling, so I tried to stay out of their way and unfortunately aggroed a bogey. Tried to kill it, aggroed the other one too. Options, die or run. I did the latter. Figured I could get to Jeuno. Ha! At one point I had 2 bogeys, 3 whites, 2 or 3 pissed off crabs, failed charms, and a few angry worms in the distance, maybe even a couple of gays. As I got close to the tunnel, I saw a crowd killing worms there. I just couldn't drag this undead train through them, so I turned towards Dunkfuck and start running, shouting, undead train coming to tower, beware. A couple of high levels managed to peel off a couple off the train for me, but I was determined to get to the tower and zone. Long story short, I zoned into the tower with around 30 HP left. Shortly afterwards, the room suddenly filled up with players asking where all those undead come from. I don't think anyone died, but it was one of the funniest adventures I ever had in Final Fantasy XI, and it wasn't uncommon for me to go back after I was a high-level beast and kill whites so that other players wouldn't be bothered by them. I figured I owed the zone some help. Server Phoenix. Character, it's all just A's, R's, and A's, and some H's. Arahar. That's awesome. I miss when the enemies wouldn't D-zone. From Aaron Pitt. Volka Elvon male and his girlfriend female Taratara. I can't remember her name, from 2004 to 2008. I got to know these 2 players from the start of the game until 4 years later and played with them the entire time. Buddies. They were girlfriend and boyfriend in real life. Went through everything together. Bought them birthday and anniversary presents in game. They helped me and they helped me level, and they were really good. They were great friends. I remember logging in for years and always checking for them to be online, and then both of them popping up in random areas behind me while I was soloing, and then helped me out for hours. Eventually, we all got each other's phone numbers in real life and started talking for real, learning about real lives and making friends all over again. Also supporting through life's problems, listening to sadness, happiness. I learned their relationships and helped them make up during tough times. I joined the military and deployed eventually, and upon deployment, I turned my account over to a buddy so he could help me farm and maybe toss an item or 2 during his adventures while I was gone for a year to Iraq. Came back from deployment to contact him and get together to play. Logged in, character stripped, nothing left in inventory. Found him after a few days of searching online. It wasn't him, and I could tell immediately he'd sold his account and took my stuff to inflate his to sell for a higher price. Their names were Volka, Elvon male, and female Tartar. I can't remember her. Sad times, good lessons. That is terrible, dude. Oh my gosh. I wonder why. I mean, that's ridiculous. Sorry to hear that, man. Did you ever go back? Did you keep playing? So Twitch TV Pat, I remember being new and having no idea what to do until I ran into a group of pretty helpful people. They ended up helping me and made pretty good friends with them. They showed me what to do, how to make money, best areas to level in, etc. Later on in the game, when I was more experienced, I took a few hours of new people. Later on in the game, when I was more experienced, I took a few new people to the game myself and ended up doing the same for them to pay it forward. Those are the kind of stories I love. I love when people are like, these people helped me. Later, when I was higher level, I helped them. That's the kind of stuff I love to do. I was like, I have this summoner. I can totally do the oh my god, what is it? The bomb. The artifact hand bomb. What is it called? Why can't I remember it? Dark Spirit? Got nothing. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out for this one. I was going to do one whole video, but this is already going to be like an hour. Maybe not. Maybe it's exaggeration. But I'm going to do the actual 10K submitted stories as a part 2. We'll do it probably in the midweek. I'll do it soon, but I want to make sure this one goes out within a normal amount of time. I love these stories. Keep them coming. We're going to keep doing more like this. Respond to this video's comments with more stories and your reaction to these stories. Some good, some bad, some sad, some happy. But that was Final Fantasy XI. It was much like real life. You know, it gets intertwined with your actual life and all the good things and the bad things that come with it. And that's why it was so amazing. Keep on the lookout for more videos like this in the near future. Subscribe. I've got a bunch of cool videos coming up I'm really excited to do. Definitely check out my Patreon if you're looking for other ways to support the channel and make this into more. I want it to be more. It can be more. Or if you're just interested in seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff. I share a lot of stuff that I don't get to share on like Twitch and YouTube. Also, check us out on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Tuesday, if this video goes live when I think it's going to, is going to be the Metal Gear Solid stream. We're starting it. It's going to be good. We got to finish it before Death Stranding. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more videos like this, think about subscribing. And if you already have, don't forget to click that little bell next to the sub button to get notified when new videos go live. Hit me up in the comments with your thoughts on this video, or come hang out and chat with me on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And definitely look me up on Twitter or Instagram and Hunt for Games to keep up with what else I've got going on. See ya.